This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets.
President Donald Trump said on Wednesday that the U.S. has not given up its maximum pressure on Iran, including restrictions on sales of Iranian oil, but signaled a potential easing in enforcement to help the country rebuild. They're going to need money to put that country back into shape. We want to see that happen, Trump said at a news conference at the NATO summit when asked if he was easing oil sanctions on Iran. Trump said a day earlier that China can continue to purchase Iranian oil after Israel and Iran agreed to a ceasefire, but the White House later clarified that his comments did not indicate a relaxation of U.S. sanctions.
Oil prices were steady on Thursday after erasing earlier gains as investors remained cautious about the Iran-Israel ceasefire while also shifting focus to market fundamentals. Brent crude futures fell 11 cents, or 0.2%, to $67.57 a barrel by 0821 GMT. U.S. West Texas Intermediate, WTI, crude fell 8 cents, or 0.1%, to $64.84 a barrel. Both benchmarks climbed nearly 1% on Wednesday, recovering from early week losses after data showed resilient U.S. demand. Investors will shift their focus back to macroeconomics and oil balances while also watching the Israel-Iran truce, said PVM analyst Thomas Varga.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
U.S. crude oil and fuel inventories fell last week as refining activity and demand rose, the Energy Information Administration, EIA, said on Wednesday. Crude inventories fell by 5.8 million barrels to 415.1 million barrels in the week ending June 20th, the EIA said, exceeding analysts' expectations in a Reuters poll for a 797,000-barrel draw. Crude stocks at the Cushing, Oklahoma, delivery hub fell by 464,000 barrels in the week, the EIA said.
Asia's imports of crude oil rose in the first half of 2025 as a surge in June arrivals overcame a soft start in the early months of the year. The world's top importing region saw arrivals of 27.36 million barrels per day, BPD, in the first half of this year, up 620,000 barrels of oil per day from the 26.74 million barrels of oil per day for the same period last year, according to data compiled by LSEG Oil Research. The stronger performance was mainly because June imports surged to 28.65 million barrels of oil per day, the highest in LSEG data since January 2023 and up from 27.3 million barrels of oil per day in May and 26.42 million barrels of oil per day in June last year. Next, we have the top news in metal markets. Copper prices jumped to their highest level in nearly 3 months on Thursday, propelled by a weak dollar, concerns over supply and buying by speculators after key technical levels were broken. 3-month copper on the London Metal Exchange gained 1.8% to $9,882 a metric ton by 14:15 GMT after hitting its strongest level since March 27 at $9,892. The dollar index sank to its lowest level since early 2022 as concerns about the future independence of the U.S. Federal Reserve undermined faith in the soundness of the country's monetary policy.
China by next year will overtake Australia as the world's top miner of the battery metal lithium, according to a forecast from consultancy Fast Markets, and its market prowess is expected to grow through 2035 even as many Chinese producers remain unprofitable. The projections are the latest data point underscoring Beijing's commanding presence across the global metals supply chain, with China the dominant miner or refiner of more than half the minerals considered critical by the U.S. Geological Survey. China's got a very clear strategy to develop its mineral resources, Paul Lusty, the consultancy's head of battery raw materials research.
We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector.
Raw sugar prices plumbed fresh 4-year lows on Thursday as the weather in key producers India and Thailand remains benign, while the truce between Israel and Iran held for a second day, weighing on energy prices. Weak energy prices can tempt cane mills in top grower Brazil to produce more sugar and less ethanol, a cane-based biofuel. Raw sugar futures on the ICE exchange hit 15.55 cents per pound earlier, their lowest since April 2021, and by 14:30 GMT recovered slightly to trade down 1.7% at 15.71 cents.
That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.